Hey guys, it's Rashad Lamar here. Welcome to my channel. I'm going to go ahead and get started with a video. It's going to be about the Nintendo 64. So, a couple things. I had some friends of mine, they actually were talking complete and total trash about one of my favorite games on the N64. It was like this little meme saying one of them has to go. There's a couple N64 games on there. My personal favorite, I said, well, absolutely not that one. I chose some other game. Um, I'm not going to even mention which one it was that I wanted to go yet because I don't want anyone to instantly download this video. But if I remember, then I'll let you know before the video's over. But I had a bunch of friends who were like totally trashing my favorite N64 game. And I was so triggered by this that I decided, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and make a YouTube video. I'm going to say what my favorite games are for the Nintendo 64. This is going to be a top five, okay? So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. This is in order. So my favorite, or my fifth favorite, is, let's see if you can see it here. Come on, focus, do your thing. It is Mischief Makers. I think that's about focused there. So Mischief Makers. So not a lot of people really know this game. Um, this funny story. So the Mischief Makers, if you can see, is actually like a little girl. It's like a little robot girl on the cover of the game. So my sister went to Blockbuster with my parents when we were kids. I wasn't there, and they just come back with some random game. I actually used to see this game, and I just kind of ignored it anytime I saw it because I couldn't really tell what the heck it was about, and it didn't really look like all that modern compared to like the Mario 64s and all these other really cool looking games at the time. So I saw this game, just ignored it. My sister comes home saying, "Hey, we got a new rental from Blockbuster." And, I check it out. I see this game, Mischief Makers. I'm like, "Oh, what the heck's this?" Right? So I turn the game on. A funny story, couldn't control the character. I couldn't actually move the character. So I was like doing stuff like jumping and I had two sisters. We were playing a game together, and nobody could figure out what the heck to do. There's a reason for that. So I actually got my controller here. We were all using the analog stick here, um, whereas no one thought to use the pad. So this is probably one of the only games ever. It's actually the only one I can remember where you actually had to use the pad to move. I think a couple games had it as optional, but this is the only one where it was required, and the stick didn't do anything at all. There's actually even a particular level in the game where they actually make fun of you, and they say, "Hey, if you get bored, then try using the control stick." And they kind of were taking a dig at you because they know that they didn't program it to do anything. It does absolutely nothing. I even got stuck on a level because the character has like a jet on their back, and you have to use the C stick or C. It's the C stick on the GameCube. On the Nintendo 64 controllers, I guess it's just known as the C buttons. So the C buttons make her do her boost. So I'm over here using the C buttons, and I could not get past. It's like a race. It's like some sort of relay race in a carnival level. So could not figure out how the heck to get past this. Pretty pissed. It took me like a couple of days. I mean, bear in mind it's like a rental, right? So I actually think I didn't complete it in that rental. Had to give it give it back up to Blockbuster, rented it again later, and found out that you actually have to use the pad here, and the pad actually you can boost with that as well. And apparently, I didn't know that it's faster because visually and throughout most of the game, it really doesn't look any faster. And I don't know if it's faster just during that race or faster overall throughout the entire game. I never really knew. So I have no idea even to this day. But I know in that one particular race, you have to use the pad. So I thought that was pretty funny, but awesome game. Really love it. Crazy boss battles. The character grabs and shakes everything and throws them around. You can take stuff, put it in a pot, shake it up, and you like can create a bomb out of materials. You can grab enemies, throw them at each other, throw them around. Uh, they'll shoot a bullet at you. You grab it out of the air and shoot it, throw it right back at them. It kind of makes sense because she's a robot, right? So yeah, awesome game. Mischief Maker is one of my top five games there, as you can see. All right, so let's move on to the next one. I think a lot of people do know this game. It's appeared in a couple of different lists that I've seen before. It is Bomberman 64. If you can see that, there we go, focus. Thank you. Bomberman 64. All right, so this game, again, this was, I don't know what it is with my sister and grabbing these games, but I saw the commercial for this game and I totally freaked out. It's like the Bomberman, Bomberman. For anybody who remembers that, that's like a play on words for the Spider-Man, the old Spider-Man television series where they had the Spider-Man, Spider-Man. For anybody who doesn't know, so anyway, I saw the commercial, freaked out about it. I thought it looked awesome. They did a great job on their marketing, I tell you that. So I went. Um, my sister just comes home with this game. I go downstairs. I'm For some reason I just had a feeling that today was the day. So I went down there. She played around with me, act like she didn't have anything. She was a kid at the time too, so she didn't rent it for me. It was my folks, but they used to like taking her more places than me. So she showed me the game, and I go nuts, run upstairs to the room, insert the game, and start playing immediately. Get my ass handed to me because what used to happen at Blockbuster is there used to be games that some people would like play like halfway through, midway through, and if you didn't start from the beginning, you wouldn't really know how to play the game. And in Bomberman, you kind of need the tutorials to really tell you how to make the bombs larger to blow up like bigger objects. And without that knowledge, I was totally lost, and I could barely beat some of the bosses, or at least the big bosses that you needed to use some of the more advanced moves. And I didn't know what the heck I was doing. So I got my ass kicked for a while, and he can't even jump. So that's one of the things that kind of threw me off is he can drop bombs and run around, and he can kick bombs and throw bombs, but he doesn't jump. So that kind of threw me off because pretty much every game during this era, like running around and jumping was a big thing, and you would think that they would take a similar approach. But of course, after more research, I discovered that that's not really the Bomberman way. He doesn't jump in most games, except for like ones that actually came out after 64. So again, one of my favorite games, Bomberman 64. All right. So now we're moving on to the big guns. Now, I think a lot of people will agree with me on this one. So you guys ready? Let's see. Let me go ahead and fight with my Zoom some more. Yeah, I think you can all make that out by now. Banjo Kazooie. This should not come as a shocker. A lot of people really love this game, and for good reason. So I'm going to go on record. Don't dislike the video all at once, but I do like this game even more than Mario 64. Banjo Kazooie, I actually got the promotional videotape. So for anybody who remembers, there was a promotional videotape where they basically it was like 10 minutes. It was pretty long, like 10 minutes long. They went over like every level in the game, in the majority of like the characters in the game. So the villain Gruntilda, what her plan was, and Banjo and Kazooie, and a couple other characters, and they went over every level, and I was so hyped for the game because it just looked like a lot of fun. And when I played it, it was even crazier. I feel like to me personally, it has much more charm than Mario 64. The platforming is more fun. It's more challenging, more unique challenges. I like the level structure and how large. I feel like it had the perfect balance of size of the levels. Um, Whereas, I feel like the sequel kind of went overboard, Banjo Tooie. I definitely don't like as much because some of the levels they're just humongous and confusing. It seems like for the sake of being large and confusing, rather than good. It's kind of the goes with the old saying, quality over quantity. So I really freaking love Banjo Kazooie. I could not beat the final boss in the game to save my life. I got my ass handed to me over and over again. I remember I got to the final boss and I think it took me like 2 days. I mean, for me, that's a long time. So like 2 days playing like nonstop just to beat the final boss. You gotta remember, I was like, I don't know, like 8 or 9 or something at the time. So it's a freaking hard boss. Like even to today, I went back, I don't know, a couple years ago and I played it again and it was really freaking hard. It's much easier now, but it's still a really, really hard game. So freaking love this game. Just talking about it's making me want to play again. So this game, Banjo Kazooie, that's going to be my number three favorite N64 game. All right. So uh, let's see what else we got here. So actually, it's kind of in the same series, and you'll see what I mean when I show you what it is. And this goes back to the beginning of the video where I told you some of my friends were saying that they did not care about this game at all. I have no idea why that's the case. Diddy Kong Racing, no idea why that's the case. I love Diddy Kong Racing. I have no clue where they got the idea to just, I guess, make another kart racer. They already had Mario Kart. I guess they wanted to compete. But when I when I tell you I played this game, when I first played Mario Kart and I played it all night, and I loved it. And I played it for a couple days, got all the trophies, whatever. So I really liked that game. But to me, it wasn't as much fun. And again, like Mario 64, I didn't find it quite as charming. Maybe I just like the characters for the company Rare better than the Mario characters, at least the way they were represented at the time. But I really freaking love Diddy Kong Racing. I love the different worlds. The fact that you had three vehicles, the car, the plane, and then the little hover inner tube thingamabob. I don't know what the heck. I forget what they call it. But I used to love that game. It had after you beat the game, it's like a second adventure mode where everything's mirrored, and that actually really messes with you. I feel like some people really underestimate how much mirror mode it kind of throws you off when you like memorize all the turns and exactly where to go in all the levels and feel like you've mastered it. And then all of a sudden you got to go the exact opposite direction. That can throw me off at least quite a bit. But I remember the final boss, the freaking Whiz Pig. If anybody's beat this game, the first time you race the Whiz Pig, that to me as a kid was the most ridiculously hard race in any game. Now that if anybody's played Crash Team Racing, we're not going to talk about that because I played that after Diddy Kong Racing. But at the time, the Whiz Pig was so ridiculously hard the first time, and there's a lot of tricks to beating him that I didn't really know until later. I remember at one point I basically had kind of given up. I used to use Pixie, the character, a little yellow looking character. I don't know what type of animal she is, but she used to make turns the best in the game. So she just wasn't like the fastest character, so I could just never beat the Whiz Pig. But what ended up happening is one day I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna just try something. And I picked up Diddy Kong. Totally random. Picked up Diddy Kong, it's like whatever. I never had success with him. I won the race with Diddy Kong first try, and I just totally scratched my head like, what the hell just happened? Tried it one time. So anyway, and didn't know that wasn't the end of the game. I actually went to school. A buddy of mine said, "Oh, did you do the space levels?" And I was like, "What are you talking about? I beat the entire game. I got like I think it was 37 balloons." And he was like, "No, it's like 38 or something, I think." And he's like, "No, it's 47." He like swore to me because he had like a guide or the book that the game comes with or something. I was like, "Man, this dude's lying. He doesn't know what he's talking about." And then I went home that same day and stumbled upon going to It's like a little outhouse. You go to the outhouse, and all of a sudden, this whole cutscene starts, and you hear mission control, blah blah blah. I was like, what the hell's going on? I was like, this guy wasn't lying. So you go to outer space, do all the levels there. I was like, man, this game is freaking awesome. So totally love the game. It was my absolute favorite racing game. To this day, it might be my favorite game for racing, especially kart racing. There may be a couple others, but that's definitely one of my favorites. Now, without further ado, I'm going to get to my number one. So, Diddy Kong Racing, that's my number two. I'll show one last time here. Diddy Kong Racing, for all the haters on my friends list, if you're watching this, Diddy Kong Racing is the truth. All right? Let's get to my number one. So, a lot of people who know me, this isn't going to be hard to guess. Um, And apologies in advance, folks. As I said, Mario 64 is Banjo Kazooie to me is better than Mario 64. Banjo Kazooie was on this list, and therefore Mario 64 is not on this list. So I'm gonna go ahead and let you know, The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time is my absolute favorite N64 game and my favorite game of all time. So I love this game so much. The Legend of Zelda like almost changed my life in the way I thought about video games or how I felt about video games. Because even though like the other games and I did play them a lot as a kid, it's something about it just felt different. I never really felt like I was totally like engulfed. Um, when I first heard about the Legend of Zelda, actually was in the Banjo Kazooie, the promotional video, this is just ridiculous. In the promotional video, there was a little clip of Zelda, like upcoming games. So after the Banjo Kazooie portion, it was like upcoming games, and there was like a Mortal Kombat. Um, I forget which Mortal Kombat 4, I think. In there, somewhere in there, there was Turok 2. I remember, which we're not going to talk about that right now, but I had a love hate relationship with that game. That's definitely not my top uh, favorite N64 games, but I did somewhat enjoy it, especially a bit of the multiplayer. Um, but Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time, it was in there, and at first I saw it and I was like, "What the hell is this?" I never even heard of the Legend of Zelda at all, so I totally missed at the time. Link to the Past, never heard of it. Never heard of the original Zelda on NES. It was I'd never heard of Zelda, period. So it was brand spanking new to me. And I saw the video on the Banjo Kazooie promotional tape, and I was like, okay, this looks pretty awesome. Um, so eventually, I tried it one day, fell in love like literally from the beginning. When you hear the not the what was it, the Kakariko Village, or no, the Kokiri Village. Sorry, guys, Kokiri Village. You know, you hear the music start, and you see the fairy Navi kind of flying around. It's like you see it from that point of view. You know, just kind of flying around, and I was like, this is really freaking creative already. Um, Very atmospheric game. I feel like a lot of the Zelda games don't really capture the atmosphere quite as well as Ocarina of Time. In going into that first dungeon, the Great Deku Tree, and then the tree dies right after that. I was like, man, this game's really expansive. It kind of had the gears flowing in my mind with like all the puzzles and stuff. And at the time, I never played anything like it. You know, now there's more stuff like it that still not to the same level, really, in my opinion. At least most other games. But I was freaking floored. I was blown away, and then the game was extremely long. I got stuck so many times. I remember I got stuck. I couldn't even make it to the second dungeon at one point. I got stuck somewhere. I can't remember where the heck I got stuck at, but I could not make it into the second dungeon. Well, I couldn't make it through the Lost Woods. That's what it was. The Lost Woods, for whatever reason, I think it. I don't know if it works properly on all TVs, but I know that I had like a sound issue where I couldn't properly like hear everything, and I think you had to like listen for where the music was coming from or something like that. And First, I don't know how I got through. I don't even remember how I eventually figured it out. I think I just got lucky. And I remember later on, I played it again, and the sound was very noticeable when you're trying to find your way through the maze. But at the time, the whatever TV I was playing on, it just wasn't noticeable at all. So I could not make it through those freaking lost woods easily at all. But then I got stuck again on the water temple. I just felt like it was awesome. You go from kid to adult, and you have all these different weapons, and as a kid, you already had like a slingshot and stuff, and then as an adult, you get like the adult weapon. You get the bow and arrow. You know, you get the really crucial stuff, right? Fire arrow, ice arrow, light arrow. There's just so many different things and so many different like little side quests and all little gold skulltulas. And don't even get me started on Ganon and the Gerudo tribe, the Zoras. There are so many different elements. I've never seen anything like it, guys. I've never seen anything like it. I was totally blown away when I played Zelda Ocarina of Time. Um, there's other Zelda games that I like as well that I'll talk about in future videos, but Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time, definitely my favorite N64 game and one of my favorite games of all time. Actually, it is my number one favorite game of all time. So let's let that be known. So maybe I'll do some trivia or something later and see who can remember that. If you can watch, if anybody who watches one of my first videos, you'll know that that's one of my favorite games of all time. Um, and see who can actually guess that. Um, and actually, Zelda is actually my favorite series of all time as well. You might be wondering where Smash Brothers and things like that. I do love Smash Brothers, but for whatever reason, I like these games more. Don't ask me why that is. There's a couple honorable mentions. Mystical Ninja, if anybody remembers that game, freaking awesome. Has some similar Zelda type puzzles in there. Not very well known. I think I'll cover that stuff in another video. But anyway, guys, I'm going to go ahead and close this out. If you like what you see, please go ahead and give it a like and subscribe. I'm looking to grow as much as possible, and I'm going to need your help to do it. So I very much appreciate any support you can give. Share the video. I'm looking forward to making lots more of these. I'm going to be doing gaming news, my thoughts on current events in the gaming industry. Same thing for movies, television series as well. Less of television though. I don't watch as much TV, but I'm into gaming and movies 100%. So I'm looking forward to providing as much content as possible for you all and seeing this channel grow and growing right alongside you all. So thanks for watching, y'all. I'm going to go ahead and close this out. Y'all take care and have a good one. Until next time, I'm Rashad Lamar.